Hey, good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are. This is yours truly, the Grand Queen, welcoming you to the pit stop. It's Wednesday, yay! And we're coming to you live at the pit stop, the sub show for the Just Stop It show. We were with you last Sunday, and this is Black History Month. And before we get into it, we're just proud to be a part of Black History, not just a month, but ongoing, making new history. That was our last uh, party topic. Uh, make history, Black history, making new history, Black history, and that's what it's about right now, making new history among our communities. I mean, it's not just for us, for all people. There are certain things that every culture suffers from generation to generation, and we are one of them. We are one of those people. We are one of those groups of people, but we are so uniquely made and intricately made, not just because we are Black, African, whatever we are, Jamaican, Asian, whatever we are. We didn't make ourselves. The Creator made us, and we are here to live and share our story with each other so we can live well and live better. So yeah, you know, this is the mental health check-in, the pit stop mental health check-in. And for those of you who are watching tonight, just want to give a shout out and tell you that that all is well. And again, it's Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the pit stop. This is a little uh, moment, a few moments. Just take a few moments to just kick back and enjoy your night. It's later on in the night. And the sort, you've come through a full day. You've come midweek already. You've made it to midweek, and that's a huge feat for some. And I don't know how you made it, and maybe you don't even know how you made it, but you made it, and you're here. And for this, I applaud you, and I thank you for joining us tonight, for joining the pit stop tonight. And if you got some stuff you want to share on making new history, Black history from our Sunday show topic, please don't hesitate to join, to like us, actually subscribe to Just Us at JTire Forum 1, and share some insights, share some stats, share some resolve on how we can make, on the purpose of making new history, Black history. Um, and tonight, we're going to take it further. We're going to take it up a little notch. We're not so formal and things like that. We're a little bit more loose at the pit stop because, listen, it's a pit stop. It's a little few minutes that we take to talk about what's not just bugging us, but to talk about it, bring it to the table with some solutions. So yeah, so this is why we're here tonight, and we welcome you. So yeah, let's get to it, and as we get to it, and again, I hope you had a good day today. And if you didn't, it's okay. If you did not, it's already all right. Um, I'm just saying, things happen, and it's okay. So, but we're here together. Much of what maybe like we're all going through the same thing. Maybe we're all planting. Maybe sometimes we feel like we are going through the same thing, planting some of the same seeds, but we're not beating the same drum. We're not beating along. We're not going along the same beaten path. We are different, no matter what people say, no matter what society says. You are different, and it's okay to be different, right? It's okay to be different and even criticized, but it's not okay to be disrespected. Even among your own people, your own Blackness should never be disrespected by the Blackness. I'm just saying, and that's something that as a people we have to learn. And me, myself, I'm learning what respect is, what honor is, in the glory and honor of the creation, God Himself, who created us to honor one another, who created us to understand one another, who created us to love and understand what fairness is, and things like that, to just really honor life among us. Sometimes the lessons are short, sometimes the lessons are long and drawn out. However, those are lessons of respect that we must learn. And tonight we're talking about accountability, generational trauma, making new history, Black history. Tonight it's about generational trauma and mental health. I'm about it, advocating. That's what I'm about, advocating for good mental health. And if you ain't about advocating for something, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's what my parents said. That's what our ancestors and our people said. So, hey, that's a true statement. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And when you fall, hey, that part, when you fall for the okey doke, I know that's an outdated term, but I'm just saying, when you fall for the okey doke, you hope that there's some kind of orange cushion, like a pillow. You know how your favorite cushion is? It when you're tired, when you're exhausted, you sit down and you get your favorite cushion, your pillow, or your blanket, or something that brings you comfort. And when you get through and you sit for a few minutes and you meditate, or you just do nothing, all of a sudden you just feel so comforted. The problem might still be there, but you just feel like something else has shifted. Maybe it has shifted. Maybe things have shifted because you've had a chance to sit down and regroup and reevaluate and of the sort. So, there comes a time in our life when accountability and advocating, they are interconnected. When those things happen, and because it comes with an issue, it comes with challenges, it comes with problems. So problems comes with solutions and vice versa. And what I'm saying is that God will give you another comforter. According to John 14:16, he shall give you another comforter that he may abide with you. In other words, I will ask the Father. Christ said, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate. That part. We need advocates in our life. We need somebody to advocate for us on our behalf. It happens sometimes. Even though we have been gifted to take care of ourselves, to fend for ourselves, there comes a time when you need some advocates, some hardcore, ride or die advocates, and ain't nobody gonna be dying on their time. The sources is going to the issue is going to be handled, well defined, with finesse, dignity, equality, fairness, justice, and more. And the one thing about God is, God got jokes. I'm just saying. And let me tell you something. When his vengeance hits, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And the thing about God's vengeance, the kind of vengeance that he has is so sweet, because it'll help you to overcome the wickedness of such things that you are passing through. If it has traumatized you, if it has traumatized your generation from generation to generation, which is linked to poor mental health, poor parenting, poor communication, poor relationships. We're not talking about financial, that's a part of it. Poverty is a part of it. But that's not the overall picture. We're talking about when you have the right instructions, when you begin to make improvements, dead smack in the middle of those challenges, God will send you some advocates. You just need to pay attention to who they are. And they could be any color. They could be wrapped up in any color skin. They could be wrapped up in any order. You just want to pay attention and see what is fitting to the plan and the format and the execution of God's plan for your life. And every plan, every instance is different. There's no one size fits all. There's no one shot deal. Everything is different. Every process that you go through, you never ever go through the same process and you never go through the same problem. Because if it was the same, actually, I mean, your problems may emulate other people's problems, but your emotional uh, aspect in it is different. Your spiritual aspect is different. Your engagement is different than others. You may be planting the same seeds of resolve, but it's your planting. It's the way you plant and reap and sow is different from anyone else. So this is what makes us unique among one another, and we must learn to respect that uniqueness. So yeah, so here again, whatever you're going through, if you're going through generational trauma, and you know, and it affects your mental health, let me just give you a little example. And I know somebody can relate to this tonight. I'm so sure that somebody can relate. So again, please, if you can relate and you have some more stuff to share, to add on to this, please just stop by at YouTube at Just Us on YouTube, Just Us, J Tire Form 1. And I'd love to hear from you. All right, please subscribe and pass this on to your friends for those who are passing through tonight. So yeah, again, make new history, Black history, and deal with generational trauma. If you are dealing with generational trauma, let's get to it. Let's help each other get through this generational trauma. It's a lot going on. It's always something going on, but this is why we're here, to change it. So these are generational trauma and mental health. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, we all are familiar with NAMI, the acronym NAMI, N-A-M-I, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Black adults in the U.S. are more likely than white adults to report persistent, listen to that word, persistent symptoms of emotional distress. For example, sadness, hopelessness, verbal abuse, hopelessness and sadness from verbal abuse, continual mental anguish, continual physical abuse, continual abuse that is linked to home, school, the workplace, the neighborhood, the community. It could be anything, the grocery store, it could be community leaders, it could be anything. But the problem is it comes like all wrapped up in a ball of yarn, a combination of, and it passes from generation to generation, causing trauma, right? Just think, according to NAMI, Black adults in the U.S. are more likely than white adults to report persistent symptoms of emotional distress. Now, I haven't even tapped into the aspects of other types of abuse that bring hopelessness. We're talking about deceptive lies. We're talking about lies that society has groomed us in, lies that our own people among our own culture has groomed one another in. However, thank God for forgiveness and the forgiveness plan. And in that forgiveness plan is always discipline. Discipline is in there, putting yourself under the microscope, examining what has happened, and being able to talk about it, being able to have a conversation to discuss things that happen, to be able to put it on the table in the right way with the right people who can advocate for you and with you concerning this generational trauma in your life. So tonight, please, I'm just sharing with you, don't hesitate to find a way on how generational trauma affects mental health in the Black community, in your family, in other people's families, in rural and urban areas. Explore ways to heal and build resilience across generations. And when I say across generations, I'm talking about multi-generational households. We're talking about millennials, we're talking about new thinkers, we're talking about across all ages. Zoomers, boomers, across all ages, because it's a combination of generations per household. It has increased. since the 70s, right? So, and with some people, I don't know, it may not sit too well with the generational changes, the household compositions. However, things happen because the economy has changed. So people are pulling together more than ever, financially, socially, and things like that. But it's how you pull together. It's how you also advocate among each other and for each other. So it's okay when we're talking about a movement in the family. We're talking about legal protections. Things happen where you need to be protected. You protect yourself and you protect your family. So when you have emotional trauma, physical trauma, social trauma, generational trauma, you're going to need some help. Stuff has to get, conversations have to begin to happen. Having access to the appropriate care and being protected, and knowing that the individual is acknowledged and addressing those challenges facing their families. They need the kind of support to help them to address it, to help them to bring it to the table, right? And because again, this is associated with legal protections. When generations are traumatized, when your mental health, when you're traumatized, there's some legal actions that may need to take place, be it small or large, whatever. Every case is different, but there are some legal protections that need to take place, because this has to do with your human rights. And if it's in the family, among the family, and it's continuing, the trauma is continuing from generation to generation, then family rights activists need to some family rights activists need to come in and ensure that individuals with these traumas, with mental illness, are protected. And there's so many agencies out there. However, what do they do? And we want to ask ourselves the question, what is it and what do they do? How can they protect me? How can they protect my family? Who are they? What is the stats on them? Do they have a good do they have a good footprint? Do they have a good record for protecting, human rights across? Do they have a good record for protecting family rights across generations? Because every generation could be affected by generational trauma. And you just want to even, you want to even be protected against discrimination in housing, employment, education. And sometimes there's family members within the family composition who are frequent flyers of going against the grain. They are frequent flyers of causing generational trauma. And you want to be able to become educated as an advocate and get to it, get with it, and get through it. So tonight, don't be afraid. You are making new history, Black history. This is about generational trauma and your mental health, our mental health. Your, me, us, our. That's what it's about. And it's time to make more changes. All right. So listen, don't be afraid. Please reach out and go to YouTube at Just Us, J Tire, Form 1, and leave some remarks, leave some comments, some good, valid information. Somebody needs it. Somebody needs it. Those who are watching tonight and you need it, it's okay to be in need of support. It's okay. It's simple but not basic. It's okay to be all right, but it's not okay to stay that way. It's okay not to be okay, should I say. But it's not all right to stay that way. Just did you catch it? It's okay not to be okay, but it's not all right to stay that way. Let that resonate. Just let that marinate a little bit, right? Don't let anybody put you in a place where you don't belong. Mentally, socially, financially, spiritually, nothing. No local government, no global, Nothing, because there's so many different governing bodies outside the family composition, in your community, and things like that. You just have to know those who are family friendly, those who are human friendly, because some people are just rocking and rolling as a beast. I'm just saying, some agencies rock and roll like a beast. And when you finally figure it out, it's like way late in the game. God is too smart and he's too loving for you not to understand what needs to be done for your life. He loves you too much for you not to be the phenomenal person that he created you to be, way before you thought of who you are, way before you even understood who you are, way before even some of you listening and watching right now. You don't even know what to do. You don't even know where to go. You don't know the next steps. You're still trying to figure it out. I'm not even talking about how old you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could still be trying to figure it out. But it doesn't mean you're not going to figure it out. Just give it to God and he will show you. You will be so surprised. Whether you believe in him or not, just try him. Because nobody can go to the Father, nobody can get to him uh, unless they get some understanding. Get some understanding, get some wisdom. Because tell you the truth, God is life and life is God. Whether you believe it or not, it's the things that connect with nature, the things that connect with the nature of God, that's interconnected with the nature of humankind. It's so simple. Only humankind makes it difficult, misinterpreted, and misunderstood because of all of the chatter that's in their head, or the chatter that was passed down to them through their parents. Our parents did what they could, but it's up to the next generation to give it clarity, to make it plain, so that people can live a good life, so people can live a complete life. That's how simple it is. But with humankind, always trying to make it complicated, but that's not the story. Make your story, make new history for Black history, to change the pages of your life so others can change the pages of their life. It doesn't matter whether you're Black, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. I'm speaking to our people in particular because we must learn to advocate among ourselves and for ourselves and on the behalf of ourselves, because other nations are doing it and we must do it too. And then it becomes a collective. Then there's no division. Then there is no divide. I'm just saying. So again, this is the Pit Stop, and I welcome you to the Pit Stop. This is yours truly, the Grand Queen. And for those of you who want to make new history, Black history, it don't matter how old you are and what color you are, listen, join us in this advocacy. Join us in this amazing journey to make changes, to make new history, and to bring to the table generational trauma, the generational trauma that affects our mental health, right? So, even more about this generational trauma, let me just share with you some of the aspects, the things that affect, some of the profound things that affect mental health in the Black communities, both urban and rural, city and, some people say city mouse, country mouse areas. I'm just saying. Now, the stats on generational trauma, these are some of the things that affect mental health in the Black community in rural and urban areas. Increased anxiety and depression. The studies show that Black individuals are more likely to experience anxiety and depression due to generational trauma. That part. Higher rates of PTSD. I talked about PTSD, post-trauma syndrome disorder, a few shows ago. I believe it was last year, and it was pretty much like ongoing too, because we had some guests and things like that at the time when I had the team. And now it's just me, yours truly, the Grand Queen, founder of the Just Stop It show. an advocate, mental health advocate. We talked about it with our amazing Shannon Gray Chappelle, who was my host, one of my hosts, and our amazing Trayvon Gray, who was Trayvon Chappelle, should I say Trayvon Gray, who was my media producer, and other people who came on, and we talked about uh, PTSD. As a matter of fact, I recall even before we came on live stream, before we came on StreamYard, I was on Block Talk Radio, and it was an artist. She came on, and she was actually an artist and a poet, a writer, and she talked about PTSD. And then some other guests again came on the show. Some of my family came on, and we all began to. It was like a huge awareness moment. It was really a huge awareness campaign that we were on to understand PTSD. And I found out for myself that I didn't even know, because I am a boomer. At the time, I was a Zoomer. I'm a boomer. I didn't even know that I had passed through PTSD, because back in the day, um, I mean, my family would, it was like the round table. We would sit down and talk about stuff, but certain things we didn't visit. And they didn't shame us or anything for not talking about it. They didn't put us aside for not talking about it, but just certain things we just didn't feel as younger people. We just didn't feel comfortable to talk about, and it did create PT. We were passing through PTSD, and our parents was passing through PTSD too, and we just didn't know what it was. We just thought it was a trial. That's what we used to call it. Oh, we just passing through our little trials and tribulation. It was deeper than that, people. I'm just saying. So yeah, PTSD is real among the Black communities and other cultures. The Black community has a higher rate of PTSD, often linked to historical and ongoing racial trauma. Also, chronic health conditions. What they used to say, oh, if it was something chronic like sugar, and there's no such thing as sugar, it's diabetes. But the our parents used to say, "Oh, he got sugar, she got sugar, she's going through sugar." But the thing is, diabetes and the level of diabetes, the type of diabetes, adolescent diabetes, things like that. Even when you're pregnant, you can have a type of diabetes. I just don't recall the kind of name, the type of diabetes that is. Um, we just didn't have a lot of knowledge, but it was ongoing historically, and then racial trauma, uh, you know, incorporated into it, integrated into it with chronic health conditions, which just didn't make it better at all. But having knowledge about such things, and such as even cardiovascular diseases and diabetes, what's interconnected, what's linked to it, what type of prevention and intervention um, methods that need to happen in our lives. We've grown a lot. So it's good to be able to grow. It's good to be able to understand and learn from it, and just get to it. Just sometimes we got to be trained to like my parents used to say, oh, if they met one of your friends, I'm just deviating a little bit. If your parents met your friends, and your friends was just like outside the box a little bit, I'm just saying, and they would later pull you to the side, it'd be like, hey baby, like your friend ain't got no home training. Like sometimes we need some home training. In other words, we need some real training in life so we can get to the next steps and understand our health, our physical health, our spiritual health, our mental health, our physiological health, even our psychosexual health, our sexual health. All of that matters. Our sexual habits, our love lives, all of that matters to God. And those are things that sometimes is a part of the trauma, not being in healthy relationships, being in toxic relationships, and also gravitating towards more toxic relationships and not knowing that it's toxic, not paying attention to the red flags and putting together a plan to guard against those red flags and understanding what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. The scripture said, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is beautiful. In other words, get some understanding, understand the attributes of life, understand the attributes of God, understand the nature of things. And when it all comes together, you'll know what's right for you. You'll know what's good for you because you've sought it out and you've given yourself time and patience to sort things out. You're not in a heated rush. And you understand better and you want better for you and you want better for others. So those are, those things when they're rushed and they become toxic and poor relationships, the mindset is also poor. We ain't just talking about finance. You could just be a billionaire and have a poor mindset because it doesn't take a lot to be a billionaire. It just takes discipline to be a billionaire and connections to be a billionaire and continual a plan, having a formula and executing that formula and reevaluating and expanding that formula and that plan on a regular. That's what rich people do. That's what we all need to do because that's what makes you rich in mind, body, spirit, and socially and financially. So, my people, family, whoever's listening tonight, whoever you are, again, please go to YouTube at Just Us at JTire Form 1 on YouTube and leave some valid information, comments. I'm not thin-skinned. If you want to rock out, just don't be mean. Keep it clean. I'm just saying. It's easy to delete a comment, but we're talking about what you put out there in the atmosphere comes back to you. So you want to read good and you want to sow good. I'm just saying. So when we come back next week, I'm going to keep it sweet and short. I want to leave this with you. Ways to heal and build resilience. There's so many darts and arrows of despair that's out there in your community, in your home, your next door neighbor, your community leaders. There's so many arrows of despair. However, it doesn't make us less than a human. It makes us human. And there's ways to heal. And I just want to leave with you some ways to heal and build resilience. You've got to be strong. The scripture said, be strong, be of good courage. Now, that's something I know I can hear some people now saying, you know what, I ain't no punk. And neither am I, Sugar Pie. Grand Queen ain't no punk. My parents ain't raised no punk. And I hear you and I feel you. I'm just saying that there are ways to heal and build resistance. Be proactive and be less reactive. Even though I got a little story now. You all heard the story. When Jesus was in the synagogue and they was over there buying and selling. And they was, no doubt they was buying and selling not just goats and sacrificing animals, should I say. They was also sacrificing people because that was the culture. And for those you little theologians who are wrapped up in your collar, I heard daughter Tiffany, prophetess Tiffany say, in your dog collar, which blew my mind because I'm just saying, she said it. She said, oh, your little dog collar wearing people, and you know who you are. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I guess Christ was like, listen, I'm tired of y'all disrespecting the community. I'm kidnapping. They was no doubt kidnapping people and just doing all kinds of atrocities, bringing down the community because of their resistance to change, because of their so-called traditions. Traditions do not change history. Traditions do not create means of good change. And it doesn't, like, I don't know, There's no real change in that. It's just a tradition that people use. People use traditions as a connection, to feel connected, to stay connected. But there's more than traditions that keep you connected to life. You want to be connected and grow. You want to be connected and thrive. That part. So it's about lifting it's about just doing away, or just addressing, being aware and address generational trauma, and create more of an increase in ways to heal and build resilience. Resistance and resilience by what? Having open conversations, encourage open discussions about mental health within the family, which can break the cycle of trauma. And there's all kinds of trauma at work, in the playground, at the supermarket, child at Walmart, they be doing overtime. I'm just saying, it doesn't even matter whether it's Walmart or whatever. Sometimes stuff just breaks out in the supermarket. People are under pressure. They're under duress because of social, financial, and other things that is affecting their mental health, and it's ongoing from generation to generation. So build resistance and heal. Build resilience and heal by understanding cultural competent therapy. Now, that's always on the table to get therapy. There is a huge difference between the Black psychology and the Anglo psychology. There's a huge difference. If anybody is listening right now, or anybody who's downloading and re-listening to this video, read Dr. Amos Wilson's book on the psychology of the Black child, and leave some comments at Just Us JTire Form 1 about generational trauma. Leave some questions and answers. Leave some thoughts and ways to heal and build resistance after you read that book. That's an eye opener. And read Dr. Frances Cress Welsing on the another book. Read any of her books. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I believe it is. And one of her books is called The ISIS or the ISIS Papers. Read that and see what you say about ways to heal and build resilience. Historical books gives you sort of like a leadway to what needs to happen. It's not a total resolve, but it gives you an idea of what has happened in the past and what needs to happen in the present and the future. And other ways to heal and build resilience and resistance. Again, cultural competent therapy, seeking therapists who understand the Black experience and can provide more effective support. Take your time on it. There's no rush. Take your time, but get some therapy, get some support. And somebody who understands the Black experience, the Black thought even, because even the Black thought is different. And it needs to be handled gingerly. I'm just saying. Yeah, and also ways to heal and build resilience, community support, education and awareness, self-care practices, that part, always taking care of yourself. Take care of yourself, which is interconnected with community support, helping you to build stronger community networks, which offer emotional and practical support, fostering resilience. Now, that's challenging in rural areas because they have a lot to contend with less resources. In the city, they have a lot to contend with, but they have more resources. However, sometimes those resources and sources are not well monitored. I say you can do a lot with a little. I've seen a lot done with a little based upon the monitoring system based upon who's monitoring and managing that systematic approach with very little people and very little sources and resources. Just do your due process. Education and awareness, educating yourself about the historical impact on generational trauma can empower you to seek healing. It can empower you. You know, I was thinking about it today. I'm going to share this. I got to share this one with you. It just blew my mind. My grandmother, one of our grandmothers, we had two sets of grandparents, grandmother and grandfather. So we always had, even though my dad was missing in action for a while, just like for the first 5 or 6 years of my life, he was there. Then he was in and out of my brothers and sisters' lives, all of us, for a few years because of his mental health illness and other things. So, I didn't understand it until I began to become aware of what was going on with other people, and then what happened with my dad in our own family and the impact. And we were all passing through. When I think of it, we all passed through PTSD with that. And the thing is, being educating yourself about the history and impact of generational trauma. It did traumatize my family, my brothers, my sisters. It traumatized maybe some more than others. And it made an impact on the relationship self, our relationship self with ourselves and with other people. And it also, some things weren't talked about. All we could do was just like witness and just watch. Because to tell you the truth, some of us didn't understand what we were even observing with our dad. It traumatized us. So we didn't know what it was because it wasn't talked about. And then as we grew into adults and had our own relationships and things, then we began to things began to clear up. We got clarity on a lot of things. Even with relationships, I thought about it today. My grandma, Addie, she said that my grandfather was a good husband. But before that, I mean, she said that he was dead already, but she repeatedly, and she loved him, no doubt she loved him, but she always said he was a good husband. And then at the same time, I remember she testified one time. She said God really kept her because he wanted to throw her out the window, and she was living in the projects at the time on the 13th floor. And he was jealous because she was going to church and coming back late. This was when my grandparents opened up their first, my other grandparents had opened up their first storefront church in Harlem, USA. And, back in the day in the 70s and stuff, people would go to church, and they go to church late and they come home late. And I think some people still do that, which is crazy because it don't take God all day and all night to do stuff. I'm just saying. Anyway, he didn't understand it because he wasn't on the Lord's side. So, he become enraged and say that all kind of crazy to her and threaten her and stuff like that. That was domestic violence. But she kept coming like nothing was happening. She was always smiling and sweet and things like that. But who knew that was happening? Nobody knew that was happening. Not even her one and only child knew that. Until my grandma, Addie, testified that she said, God delivered me. Praise the Lord. I was like, what? She said God delivered her because one time she said she remembered that he picked her up when she came in from church because she was petite. She was very petite, and he was very tall and lanky. I called him Louisiana Spice. He was a very light skinned and fair skinned and reddish type man. Creole. He was Creole, and he was very good to us. He was very good to us, but his spirit was a whole different ball game. And she said he took her to the window, to drop her out the window. He picked her up to take her to the window, to drop her out the window. And she prayed and she spoke to his spirit, and he put her down. She said she don't know what he saw in her, but he put her down. And after that, she said he never did that anymore, because the look on his face when he looked at her, when he was about to put her through the window, the 13th floor. We ain't talking about no child bars and stuff like that at the time. We talking about one of those high up project windows. You drop out of that, it's over before you hit the ground from the 13th floor. From that, yeah, 13th floor, I believe it was. So anyway, from that time, and their relationship was their relationship, and but she said he was a good husband. And I was like, wow. I couldn't understand that. I could not understand that kind of bond. And she said he was a good husband after that. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that kind of trauma, because sometimes trauma can lock you into something that you don't understand, and you can stay too long and feel like it's love, and feel like it's good, and feel like it's for you, and it's actually a drop out the window. It's actually dangerous. Leave your comments on Black trauma, Black history, generational trauma, and mental health at Just Us, J-Taya Form 1 at YouTube. And also, don't hesitate to go to Just Stop It MS, which is Just Stop It Mind Shift. Again, Just Stop It MS.com. That's my website, and there you can also see some of our supporters, our past supporters, and you can also see some testimonies, amazing testimonies we're still adding on, and also our monthly newsletter we're still adding on. And we need your support. We would love your support to help advocate and generate more understanding on not just the Black experience, but on the experience of mental health issues in rural and urban areas, and the effects that it have, and the sources and the stats and the insights. We need those things so that we can become a collective. This is a collective effort. This is not a one man, one woman show. This is about a collective collaboration. Right? We love you like no other, as God does. So please, for this week, I think I gave you guys some homework on last week, right? Before this week, again, I'm going to give you a little homework. Put something, make it your business to make sure you have a link of support, so you have a leg to stand on, to have a conversation on whatever generational trauma that is ongoing in your family, in your community, that affects your family and affects your community. Right? So that you can become more aware and stronger and fearless as an advocate on behalf of yourself, your family, and others. Because this is what we're here for, to help strengthen one another and love on one another in of the good graces of God. And again, I love you like no other, as God does. Come back on next Wednesday and the following Sunday, which will be not the 16th. It will be the third Sunday, I believe. We'll be back with the Just Stop It show. But come back next Wednesday, when we'll be talking about access to mental health services. There's so many different prospects, So many different perspectives on mental health services. Everybody deserves good mental health and they deserve good mental health services. So come back next week, right? And again, and one more thing, let me drop this on you before we go. Just got a little gift for you. Um, for those of you who love to read, uh, got an ebook, a good another. I gave you two great books tonight to read up on. Let me give you the third one, and it's called God's Mind Over Our Matters. It's an ebook called God's Mind Over Our Matters, and it's a prayer manual. It's a prayer book. It's a on-the-go prayer book. And I guess some people are like praying. Oh Lord, I'm too tired. I can't pray. Listen, we're talking about communicating. Our communication self must be open to God while we are battling all these other little spirits or whatever they call themselves and standards and all that. You know, those things come in the form of standards, what people call demons. They're just bad standards that ain't good for nothing and it's not fitting to life. And it's also spiritual. So God's Mind Over Our Matters is an ebook available at Barnes and Nobles, available at Google Books, available at Kobo Books, and available at, oh, I said Barnes and Nobles and I said Kobo and also Google Books. There's one more that will come to mind, but those are the major Barnes and Nobles. Ah, here it is, Amazon. You can also get that book, the ebook, God's Mind Over Our Matters at Amazon.com. And it is by yours truly, the Grand Queen. And you'll see it, but I'm the Grand Queen here, aka Grand Queen, but you'll see it is my other tag is Prof Williams, right? My other tag is Prof P Williams, and you'll see, right? It will bring you joy. It will bring you awareness. It will bless your mental health, your spiritual health, your financial health. It will be a great help of a type. It is a great source of help for you, right? Leave some comments. Take some quotes from it and hit me with it. Take some quotes from it and share it with us at Just Stop It at J Tire Form 1 on YouTube. So again, subscribe and come on back, right? Get to it, get through it, get with it. See you next week.